All right, guys, welcome back to the Institute of Higher Earning podcast, brought to you from North Texas, Dallas, Texas. Good friend of mine, Kelly Smith, who is a loan officer, loan consultant, loan badass.
I throw money at people.
You throw a lot of money at people.
I spend other
Loan
people's
shark.
money really well.
Loan shark.
Loan
Yeah.
shark.
If I ever tag her on
That sounds
Facebook,
bad.
Chubby
That
pig
sounds bad,
princess.
but yeah.
I should have make that a T-shirt and
Anyway.
worn it.
main products are hard money lending. So lending to investors such as ourselves, people that we sell deals to, people that we buy deals from, lending people like me a lot of money in the past. Not so much recently. That's unfortunate, but we're still friends. It's okay. She also does a high volume of takeout financing in the non-QM space, which is coming back with a kind of a big thing. It was a little paused for a little while in kind of
Rates are
22,
sexy. 23.
They're not bad.
Rates are sexy.
She's been in the real estate industry, not to age or date anyone. I've been in since '06, and she is much younger, much more beautiful, and has been in just a little bit longer than me as well. So I think that's one good place to start. What's going on in the real estate market?
We're coming off of what was a shit show of a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's not anything to equate to like '08, '18, or even in the 90s.
The only people who equate it to those dates are ones that weren't around during those times.
Because those were truly, there were paradigm shifts that needed to happen. People were doing silly deals, silly loans. There's a reason that collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
What happened with 2023 was interest rates increased as they were trying to fight inflation. And then what happened? That killed the real estate market. And we came off the hottest real estate market that I have ever been part of. And I've been doing this a very, very long time, from commercial broker
when
to
did you
here.
start?
Technically in 2001. I was
Okay.
a marketing director while I was still in college,
Oh, wow.
and
That's awesome.
for a commercial real estate company. And then after that, I stuck in commercial real estate until 2014, and that's when I got into hard money.
That makes so much sense because I joined in 2019, right? When I became hard money lender loan officer, and you were everywhere, right? If you go on social media and you try to compete as a loan officer in Texas, you're gonna run into Kelly Smith, right? And holy shit, I always said, I used to talk to Tony, and I was like, how do I get these referrals? Like, how do I penetrate and brainwash these people to always throw my name out there and like God worship me? And like, I was so envious of it. But that's the answer right there, is you had such a long road fucking crushing
I think
it, right?
I think you work your ass off.
Yeah, no, you're
There's-
crushing
there's
it
to
for
that.
so
I've
long.
put in a lot of time.
Yeah, no,
I've done a
that's
lot of traveling, a lot of work. Thanks. Big titties
Well,
help.
let's get some. I had a reduction a couple years ago, so I don't have as much cleavage as I
Because
used
you
to.
fast and I like to eat.
What? Give us some context. So you're with Easy Street Capital,
Mm-hmm.
and we just had lunch. You mentioned to me you guys are number something in the country.
We were like top 7
Top
in
7.
volume of deals closed last year.
So transactional volume.
Transactional volume, and
Okay.
and that's just really a mixture of the bridge and which is like the flips, new builds, double closes, all that
How
kind of
many
stuff.
states are you guys in now?
We're in 45 states.
45.
We were in 47. We paused 2. Unlike a lot of our competition, because a lot of our competition, the bigger guys, they have banks backing them, so they have a different class of money borrower than we do. We're really very organic and grassroots. I mean, 2 years ago, we were nowhere near this level, and here we are. We have like 115 people, 35 sales agents lending in that many states, and we
And you
offer
were-
rental programs.
You were sales agent number what?
I was the 4th hire of the entire company.
And there's
And
two
so
people that own it,
technically,
so-
I was the first
they're
sales
basically-
agent outside of the partners, because we had a person, Peter, RIP. I miss him. I love him so much. But he did everything: draws, servicing, loans, closings. And I remember the first month when I first started in 2018, January 2018. I started with East Street. It was, I think, my second or third month. We closed 30 loans, and he was like, let's do this. A loan a day. This is sexy. And that was energizing when your team is energized to go do that and see that success. And now here we are. It's amazing. We have killers that are in, we have Taylor. She's out in Georgia. She took the Rainmaker from me this year. She beat me last year. I lost to a rookie.
You lost spot 1. Wow.
To a rookie.
Is
And
that the
she
first
was
time?
well deserved, though. I
the first
mean,
time?
she's killing it. It's the
How's
first
that
time
market?
I've ever lost it.
So how's that market compared
So
to
what
Texas?
she's saying actually is that she was slacking last year.
Yeah.
Let's
so
dig
I
down
want
a
to, break down the analytics a little, right?
I mean, you did stop using me.
I was a good piece of your volume for a while.
So I have to hustle. I mean, honestly, so when I look at the whole U.S. where we lend, but more specifically where I personally lend, the bulk of my business is Texas. But I've spent the last year trying to spread my bases so it's in different states. I didn't want to have the exposure to just one state because what we've seen through all of the market changes, Texas had the highest appreciation, but we had the quickest normalization as well. Everyone thought the market was crashing. We weren't. We're still higher than we would at a normal appreciation rate. We're still doing fine. Florida's seen a lot of the same. So those two markets I do quite a bit of business in.
If we could remove your market, Texas would fucking be amazing, though, also. So I want to throw that defense out there in Texas's eyes. Because Austin had such a kick in the dick because it was such on a roller coaster upward, right?
We just couldn't sustain what was happening.
Yeah, Austin saw some actual
Yeah.
depreciation pretty much metro-wide, didn't they? In terms
We
of
did.
pricing?
I mean, we still are seeing normal appreciation if you took out that year. You know, if you looked at the median versus the average, you know, we're still doing fine. But, you know, that house, like, for example, in my neighborhood, I live in this random neighborhood that feels like you're in the country. People have half acre to 5 acres. I back up to a horse on 5 acres. It's awesome. My kid calls her Nene and feeds her. I have just over half acre. I have a tiny little house. We fully gut and remodeled. We've redone like the front. Like we've done a lot of work to it. You know, it's $500,000 house probably now, but I could have sold it for $750 easy in 2022. But then there's like 5 new builds in the back corner that has 3/4 to an acre, and they're over $1 million. But then if you go down 2 side streets, there's a hoarder house that's been there over 20 years, and 290 is probably what they would sell it for. But they could sell it once it's fixed up for 50 to 525, depending on if you do any like convert the back. Almost all of us have barns, like 2-story.
Oh, that's cool.
Like you could. Some of my neighbors have converted them into living space, so like apartments or game room or man. My husband, it's his man cave. He's got all his hunting stuff, and he sits in there and watches nerds on
So
YouTube.
I think there's a lot to take.
So there's room, but the point of it was if you didn't do that, it would be 425, 450 to 525 ARV. So, but again, that house mirrors mine in terms of size and footprint, but 700 2 years ago. So did we come down? Yes, but we're still, you know, we're still doing fine in the median.
So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just,
Well, what we were doing at the time is the market in DFW peaked April of 22, as far as we can tell.
Yeah.
23, April 23.
I think everything really
April,
got hot in
April
March
23
is when I
is
saw
when
it.
it peaked. And so when we started reevaluating our deals and our deal flow and our acquisition criteria, because you know we close on still a pretty high volume of deals, is we took the comps from basically March to May of that year and just completely disregarded them. Not entirely, but in terms of like sales price, like you were talking about, if there's a sales price here and we're seeing listings here, now we're taking these listings as a new recommendation of what an actual ARV is. And so what I like to say, like from a market perspective, is I think what we saw was kind of a blow off in the top of the market. The market just was shooting up like this, and then if you're trading stocks or something like that, what happens is the market just kind of keeps going up and just like shoots off, and then it settles down. And that shoot off move isn't a legitimate move based on any kind of necessarily fundamentals. It's just kind of psychology's kicking in, everyone's buying, everyone's scrambling, everyone's desperate, and then boom. And the way we prepped ourselves with that was seeing that rates were going to start rising. Now we're going to expect that's going to drive an anticipation of prices to continue to increase because the Fed broadcast that they're going to be raising rates, and they're going to be raising them pretty fast at the time.
And they did.
As opposed to when you and I were in college back in the day, you remember Bernanke, he didn't say shit about what was going to happen with rates.
loved
It was
Bernanke.
it was always like a guessing game, like, well, what's the Fed going to do this month? The Fed broadcast now 6 months down, like out, what they're going to be doing. So anyone that's caught with their pants down, oh, I didn't know rates were going to go up, oh, I didn't know prices were going to cool. Are you just not listening?
You know what's funny is how much they shouldn't be sharing that information because it's manipulating all of the environments of any kind of anything that's going to be impacted by rates. It's manipulating them. It's essentially teaching us once again, like the Robin Hood stocks. We literally have no control over what's going on, and none of this is truly organic. It's all manipulative, so you really do have to be paying attention to that.
I think so.
However, I will always say in our real estate market and investment real estate, just buy right, and that will always be cheap buy as cheap as possible, because it doesn't matter what the market does if you buy right. And all of the stress and angst and just the emotional intelligence thrown out the window during 2023 with a lot of individuals in the real estate realm, and especially investment real estate realm, they didn't buy cheap. They were just buying silly stuff because in 2022
you can refi up to 80%.
and you could do anything in
rates are
2022 to
low.
make money.
Things were there to catch you, right? Things were there to help you pull your pants back up, right? And like make up for your faults, but that's not there anymore, right? So
you obviously see a higher volume of transactions than we do, just by the nature of your business. How many loans do you do on a month?
A lot.
A lot. What what are the biggest issues that you see that investors, maybe newer investors or even seasoned investors, bump into? Not necessarily on the loaning side, but maybe the loaning side too, in terms of expectations and reality for their projects. Where do you see people get into trouble, and where do you see them kind of mess up their expectations for the process?
I'd say, and this is true for new and mid-level investors, and I would say mid-level, you might have done 20 deals in the last 2 years. I'm still not considering you that next level above, just because you haven't, this is your first market cycle. But the mid-level, it's usually misanticipating their scope of work. That is 100% the stress that anyone who, I would say 99% of the people who slander and bash us or me or any hard money lender, because we get the phone calls, I hate so-and-so because I had such and such happen with my budget. It's 99% they did not have an appropriate budget. You have time to walk a house and figure it out.
Just to touch on that.
which goes back to you didn't buy it deep enough.
Would you consider us relatively experienced? I've probably done, doors-wise, probably over 1,000 doors.
Well, absolutely. But you guys still screw up budgets.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think my favorite comments from you was, what did I lie about the budget number being? Well, we're above that already.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, budget's always a guess to a certain extent.
It's a complete guess. However,
but if you
add
buy well enough,
contingencies. Buy cheap enough, it doesn't. It's
Exactly.
not going to eat into you. But even then, even if you bought cheap, but your budget was only, let's tell a famous story of a person who slandered me for 3 years. Told me could get done for $18K what other people would need 34. Ended up submitting a budget for $60K, and then admitted never walked the house. That's a rookie mistake.
Well, he submitted the budget after
After
he
a
closed on
purchase
it, right?
and started
Yeah.
tearing into it.
So he was in there. So he submitted a draw request basically for
60K.
And you're like, bro, your loan's only for
18, and was very
Who's this
upset
rookie?
about it.
I can't,
I'm not gonna say.
names
Don't worry
don't
about it,
matter,
it's not
but Jesus
I've bit my
Christ.
tongue on that one, and
Holy
he's gone out of
shit.
his way to tell people about it. But the point of my story is, he had a significant track record, enough that we talked to him like a pro, and I didn't fight with him about his budget.
I'm just more insulted that he thought that's how fucking lending worked. Like, no, I can always get more money from the lender. It's not a fucking ATM, bro.
Well, it changes everything. Your loan docs,
Yeah, you gotta go back and
perception of
rewrite
the investment,
everything.
what do the numbers look like? But it also tells us, like, you weren't fully prepared to walk in and get into this deal like we were. So I would say budgets, number one. Never having a sufficient budget. And I tell everyone, especially new investors, shit happens. You will always go over either time or money on a budget. It happens to everybody. You can get there, you can do all the option period, have every single inspector, have every single third-party contractor out there. You're still gonna run into unknowns. You're gonna open a wall and find mold, or I once found a bunch of gecko eggs and I didn't know what they were, and I thought we had aliens.
what do gecko eggs look like?
Like little tiny round balls.
Like
And they were
little
everywhere.
caviar balls or something in
No,
there?
well, they're a little bigger. They're like smaller than a ping pong ball, but they look
didn't
like
know
little
that.
ping pong balls, and they're everywhere. And I was like, oh God, this is like alien spores. We're all gonna die.
Amazing.
But or even just foundation. My San Marcos house, that's my favorite one. The foundation it's a cute little cottage, and it's only 970 square feet, but the foundation was so bad, I couldn't walk through the whole house because I thought I was gonna puke. I just get really infected. We missed that the toilet and the tub were falling through the subfloor. And it wasn't until we got in there and started doing foundation, we realized the subfloor was gone. Well, yeah, I had to come out of pocket for that. I wasn't mad at anybody.
No.
But there was no way we could have caught that because, the red herring was the terrible foundation and everything else that needed to be done. So you just have to anticipate this type of stuff. So what happens is they miss the budget and they're not appropriately capitalized. They think, I have 50 grand, all I need for this deal is 50 grand. Well, that's what you need on paper. The realistic number might have been 65, but that's not always true. But just go ahead and account for that. So I would say not having cash and budgets is the big deal. In the current marketplace, not protecting your credit is a big one.
Yeah.
You can buy deals without credit or cash, but you're going to need someone's credit and cash. And lenders are being more picky and choosy on credit partners, money partners. We now want them tied to the loan. We don't want to have the 500 credit on the loan or 600 credit. We want the better person on the loan. So you have to figure out a way to do it together as an entity or a joint venture. Well, now you have a whole new way to look at this deal. You're now literally in business with someone. You can't just walk away if everything goes sideways and they can take it over. So the market's changing, and as cash, capital, credit, all of this becomes more important. Your budget really has to be better solidified, or at least understand it's going to change.
So that's kind of a lender perspective, and I think that's all absolutely accurate. I think from an acquisitions or from an investor perspective, kind of going back to your San Marcos deal, the best ways to hedge against that is exactly the two things that you mentioned, is buying better, because you can only really affect your buy price. You can never affect your sales price to a certain extent, because the sales price is dictated by what the market conditions are. So you can have a dispo team, and we have a very good dispo team, but at some point they can only sell a deal for how much the deal is actually going to be worth on the open marketplace. There's really no bottom to what you can buy for. If you can negotiate better, if you can have better conversations with sellers, if you can provide more, I don't want to say provide more value to sellers, but effectively craft offers that make sense to the sellers and then have more valuable conversations with the sellers, you can buy better. So your profit margin is dictated really by your buy price. And your dispo, if you're, regardless of your sales dispo strategy, you can be wholesale, you can be wholetail, you can be retail, you can be flip, you can be whatever, is dictated by what the market is going to give you.
Yeah.
And so the best two ways to mitigate against those problems, and what we've done in our company and what I think good operators that try to do in their companies, is buy better and have enough cash around where when stuff inevitably goes wrong, and it does on every single deal, that it's not a big deal. Something goes wrong, like your bathroom deal. For us, I might not even know that was an issue until after the crew fixed it, because it's just the nature of doing the business. But if you're
Well,
new,
and your crew is in there just doing what they think they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They're looking at their scope of work, but if they see the subfloor, they're going to fix it. It's not always they're just going to call you and say, we have a problem.
Well,
you have to fix it.
And absolutely, and well, that goes to the dispo strategy. We don't need to harp on it too much. But if we're shooting for a full ARV price point when we're selling a property, what your original scope is relatively irrelevant. Because if you missed a bunch of shit, if your
Comes back in
sold
inspection.
comps are new roofs and new HVAC, and you have a roof that keeps the water out and HVAC that's 12 years old, you're not going to sell for that full ARV comp. It doesn't matter what you had in your original scope.
Or what I've seen is skipping appropriate insulation. And then
that's-
buyers come back with their inspector and they're like, this is inappropriately with their little heat
so
thing. You know what I'm talking
Everything.
about.
You know what the fucked up thing is? Every house in Texas has inappropriate insulation too. You're not even supposed to see your rafters and anything if you go into an attic.
Oh, we spray.
Yeah.
Where am I going to put the stuff I won't touch for 20 years?
One of the things also
We
that
don't have basements, man.
You said you have an outbuilding.
I have a 2-story barn, but it is full of my husband's crap.
You
It's
don't
full
have
of duck decoys and bows and
you need-
arrows
Full
and
of soap.
stuff.
You need a
It's a
second
shop.
barn. You need a
Heads.
second barn.
I need a second
the
barn.
thing that a
That
lot of
sounds
times
so
newer
redneck.
investors also do is they try to if they miss something, they just try to fucking pinch it, right? They try to solve it the cheapest way possible, and they end up fucking paying 3 times over for it instead of doing it right the first time.
You don't skimp on the rehab budget to try and make your numbers. That's just do the right rehab
first way of
budget.
shooting yourself in
Because
the
you're
foot.
going to, if you don't do the house right, it's going to get you in the inspection. You're going to lose buyers. You're going to increase holding costs, or you're going to end up giving your sellers concessions. That's probably more than what you want. Because let's be honest, we've all been there. You're looking at it, your inspector looked at it. That needs to be fixed. It probably costs $200, but I'm going to ask for $1,000. It's just the way it works. So now you're offering up 20K concessions, where if you just spent the $5,000 with your GC or your contractors to get it done right the first time, you probably would have saved yourself money in the long run.
So
But again,
once.
you don't
Tried
know
once.
what you don't know. There's
Yeah.
in this space, we're all really we're kind of running naked and alone. It's not common for you to walk over to someone and say,
Not now, but Been there, done that.
But it's not common to be like, hey, TJ, will you come walk my house? I've got this beautiful rehab. Will you tell me what I'm missing? That just doesn't happen. Yes, people pay for mentors, and those mentors should be doing that. And maybe they are, maybe they don't. I don't know. But I do feel like there's a lot of retrading with the consumer at the end, and that's purely because maybe you just did a cosmetic update and it shouldn't have been just cosmetic update.
It's also, you have to know what type of investor you are, right? If you're going to be a retail, high-end investor, you better fucking know design and style. Don't think you're just going to go and, how many times we've seen like fucking postmodern houses in areas that shouldn't be there, and they fucking just destroy them by updating them completely into modern, and just, you're not going to have those buyers in that area, right?
Well, and
Like
certain price points don't want the all white and gray.
Exactly.
What we're seeing in the marketplace is comps matter again. So if there's zero inventory and artificially low interest rates, which there were for basically COVID to post-COVID to last year, anything sells. You can mess up and fall forward and fail forward and all these catch terms that all the gurus like to use, but that doesn't mean that you're running a solid foundational business. Now, does that mean you can take advantage of that business environment? Well, we sure as heck did. We bought all the stuff that we could. We didn't care that much about the rehabs, and we put
took
them out there.
benefit of it.
We absolutely
we
did.
did silly loans,
but we knew
they paid off.
And we knew it at the time. We knew, like I imagine you guys too, we knew at the time that, hey, we couldn't do this if there was more inventory. We couldn't do this if, and what I mean by that is just simply functional obsolescence on some houses. For example, if there's a galley kitchen in a house and there's an open kitchen with a peaked roof or whatever in a competing house, if there's no inventory, those are comps. Those are exact comps, because one will sell for the exact same thing that the other sells for, everything else being equal, relatively speaking.
However, we're in a normal market
But
now with
now-
30 to 45 days on market.
Exactly.
That galley kitchen is not going to be the same.
Now we're looking at a price adjustment or a price correction. And what really is interesting about days on market, I think, is what's an average? An average is, I sold some product for $1 and I sold some product for $100,000, so my average is 50 grand. Well, that's a horrible metric to look at stuff. Because a days on market, if it's a well-positioned product that hits the market and hits the market well, that's done well, it sells relatively quickly, 2 to 3 weeks. If it's a complete turd, it might not sell for 6 months or for 12 months at almost any price. So the average is now, getting driven up obviously by bad inventory, in addition to just overall inventory taking a little bit longer to sell by the nature of it being out there to begin with.
Right.
Knowing that list price matters now more than ever, right? Like, 'cause if you listed 10, 15 too high just because of whatever fucking reason, you're either not using the right comps or you're using a gut that you just think it's going to be XYZ. You're a year ago, well, 2 years ago actually, like you said, like the market would have actually pushed that number up even another 20 grand. But now, once you start having 30 days on market, you're taking price reductions. People are looking at it. What the fuck is wrong with the house? Now
You
you're
have a
having
stigma
now you're
to
having
it.
now you're having stigma. The fucking house smells like now things
define
actually matter.
Define a stigmatized property,
Right.
because that's a term that we haven't heard for I haven't heard it since
I
pre-COVID.
mean, everyone, it's that moment that a house is like 60 days on market plus, everybody thinks something's wrong with it.
Well, that's
There
now a
might be
marketing
nothing,
technique
but
again, right?
everyone
Like,
has to wonder, especially if you've ever gone under contract and fallen out. It could have been for any reason. Buyer didn't have money, buyer wasn't approved,
Doesn't matter.
not related to the house. It doesn't matter. If your house is on the market 90 plus days, especially now, and you once had a contract, you now have a stigma. Something's wrong with your property. Here come the lowball offers. Here come the creative finance investors.
God.
Here come all the things that you didn't want. And that's, I mean, I almost, I have a client who always does a level better than in the kitchen and bathrooms than what his surrounding comps are, but he'll always price the house at the lower end. So he has bids, and then it gets bid up, and he'll end up selling higher for sometimes the highest in the neighborhood. And that has worked really well. Now, you have to be a cool operator to do that. And he's proven it time and time again.
That's
But
pretty,
that's stressful.
That's pretty much our business model. Like, that's through COVID, even post-COVID. And Tony and I butt heads on it when we were kind of merging. Is our strategy was very much during COVID. We're going to underprice by not much. Like, we're going to underprice by 3 or 4%, not even 5%. And we were setting records on almost every flip we sold during COVID. It was so cool. But we knew it was, we knew it was an expiring timeline. But that was our exact strategy, was let's make it just a little bit nicer than competition. Let's price it a little bit less than the competition. And let's get more than the competition by having bidding wars. And we were getting, again, I think our record was 35K over ask or something ridiculous.
Nice.
on a deal. It doesn't mean that we were fantastic with our flips necessarily. It doesn't mean that we were good. We were because we knew what we were doing, and we knew that was a condition of the market allowing us to be able to do that. And when we saw the market changing, then we pulled back and reevaluated how we're going to position what we're doing on the products. But it doesn't mean that a lot of people, I think, took that for granted. A lot of the gurus in the space, a lot of the people teaching flipping that are now talking about how many millions of dollars they lost. I think they lost sight of their core fundamental business, which is know what the product is that you're putting on the market and know what the business is that you're actually in.
I also think a lot of what happened too was not only did people screw up budgets and just going back to the fundamentals of buy cheaper, know your numbers, don't count on that appreciation. People moved into product types that they probably weren't ready to move into or had no business being in. I will never probably flip $1 million property. I just don't think that I have the style or the eye or the stress level for it. And I am aware of that. But what we saw with deals that we decided not to do, whether it was a new build or a luxury product, those are usually the most, or even people, the natural progression is moving into, because you start flipping here. You start with the 400 and below ARVs. Those are easy. If you have to hold it, it's a lot better chance to cash flow. Those are easy deal. Biggest buyer base. Then you get a little bored. You get a little ego. I'm going to do a bigger house. I'm going to do the 700. I'm going to do the 1,000,000. I want to start doing multifamily, small multifamily, and we'll do up to 9 units. So we see some of that. I think what happened was a lot of those people got into those products without really being ready because the ego over here was, well, these are selling 100K over. Bidding wars. Well, yeah, it's the market. It's not the house. It's the market. Like your house might have been it, but it was the market. It was everywhere. And I think what happened was a lot of people got into these and they didn't understand what they were selling. When you get to a certain price point, 650, 700, your level of finishes are not Home Depot, like the 400K houses you're buying. The Wayfair's lighting's probably not working, although Amazon lights I like. When you get,
So
I don't like their plumbing, but I like their lights.
our Home Depot expense last year was actually 20K less than it was the previous year. And I'm pretty much sure that's because we bought so much more stuff on Amazon. For the flips that we did.
They have cool lights. I like their light
They have
fixtures.
nice lights. They have
Especially like in my rentals, they're $300,000 houses. I put in a neat light. Everybody loves it. And I'm like, I think it's ugly, but it's modern and people think it's great.
I love the fact that it's just free shipping and I don't have to send the crews.
Well,
to go
is there
get it
2
and
or
all that
3
fun,
days
right?
and that's
Yeah.
right. Well, sometimes faster.
Well, my living room doesn't always like that.
But again, it's, budget, but moving into something, because a lot of those, I tell everyone, when you're getting into that higher price point, that's a smaller buyer base and a more choosy buyer base. And you
That's what
need
I
to
was about
walk
to
your comps. You need to walk them. Not pictures don't always tell the story. It misses the details. What was, like, it looks like white subway tile. Well, it's hand scraped, so it has that cool ebb and flow look, and it's a little bit longer than the normal rectangle, and it's a little wider, and it's got a little different grout line, and it's got it just feels different. The kitchen cabinets are Euro modern, like it's just different. You need to walk those. So if you take what you did here and found success in that $400,000 house, and you try to translate it up here, it's not a translation, And in those situations, I would say if you don't have a designer or you personally aren't stylish, get a designer. But even those, ask them, have you been part of a house that sold at this price point? Walk them. Walk all your comps, because you'll get A, ideas, and B, as you watch them sell or not sell, you can see what is that buyer
Why
place
it's
looking
not.
for.
And it's just that there's just also a quality difference too in those price
hands
points, right? Like, and the people think that they're going to make that jump and it's just there. No, you're going to have to fire half your crews and get new ones, right? Because your tile guy for a $250,000, $300,000 house is not the tile guy you might want to be using on a $1.1 million house.
And you're
right?
doing a
So-
herringbone pattern
Oh
that's
my
got to be
God,
seamless.
right? Yeah, and
We
it's
do
got a
actually use the
Texas
same tile
star
guy.
in the middle.
We
I
use-
know
we
we
use the same
did,
tile
but we're
guy for both.
different. We fucking do as we say, not as we do.
So-
God damn it.
But your point is well taken. And I think actually there's a lot more variation in drywall work than tile even.
Drywall was what I was gonna say.
Because bad tile work you can see easily, and a bad tile guy you might not keep around even at the 300K price point.
The
But a bad drywall guy
$300,000
can patch together a 200K house. He has no business being in $1 million house.
Well, and of course the drywall, some of it you'll see if you're painting it just white. You don't see in the sunlight, but when you're at night and you turn on those lights, and you turn on, especially if you have any, recessed lighting, that's when you start to notice they were not sanding to the level one.
Yeah.
And that buyer is way different too. Like you said, right? They're just fucking picky cunts, right? Like that buyer over $1 million hated him. We dealt with them for fucking months, well after buying the house. Fucking hate him the entire time. The
Was that the burn house?
the
Yeah.
$300,000 buyer will go over there afterwards. We'll fucking help them if we
Yeah.
need something. They love us. They give us hugs, and they're so grateful, right, for what we did and what we provided.
They're
But
excited they get a nice house.
Exactly.
When I bought my first house, it was
Fucking-
avocado green in the kitchen and robin egg blue because that's all I could afford.
So you
When I was
mentioned,
right out of
one
college.
direction that you've seen in the marketplace in terms of like a newer investor starts with a flip and then they go to 2 flips and then they go to a higher price point and then they go to a higher price point and then they think they're a commercial investor.
Or they flip to new builds
or
and
something
they have
like
no
that.
idea what they're doing.
What?
Permitting. That one
Oh,
kills me.
that can take forever.
That one kills me. I'm ready to do some new builds. Okay, well, tell me about your flip experience. Bunch of cosmetic stuff. Okay, well, why my GC is going to be running the job? That's great. GCs are third-party contractors. They're going to get paid no matter what. There's a difference between building something and profiting off of the investment of building it. And a lot of the issues that people run into and why we don't lend to newer investors, we used to years ago, and it never worked out well. GC quit. They had to find a new one. The price wasn't right. Now they're upside down. The
materials get stolen.
borrower has no idea what they're talking about or looking at. No one can get permits, and it's there. Now you have a dead deal. And let me be very clear: no one wins in a foreclosure. They're always a shit show. There's always something wrong. It's not like. Supposedly, some lenders use foreclosures as an acquisition strategy. Usually, the smaller guys that are using more private money. I've heard those rumors. I honestly don't know how they can do it because genuinely no one profits off of foreclosure. We ate them
They cost an arm and a leg.
to fix them. Because it's broken for a reason. And that's why a lot of lenders have even pulled back from, again, we're learning and adapting and pivoting as the market changes. There was a time where there was a lot of failed flips on the market, and you'd have newer investors. This house they ran out of money. It just needs $15K to finish.
You have to go and
No, it
unfuck
doesn't.
everything they did. It's miserable.
Hey, if it's only $15K, anybody can find $15K.
Yeah, stick it
it's
on a credit
not
card.
$15K. There's something else. And what else did they skip? And how many liens are going to pop up post closing? And how many contractors are going to come back after they realize it's traded and they still didn't get paid and come and damage the property?
And take their
So
stuff back
most
out
of us
again.
won't lend on those anymore. And it didn't make sense to borrowers for a long time. This is a quick flip for me to pick up. There's more to it than just, I'm going to go in and finish the flooring. No, you're not.
So we've talked a lot about how people can mess up in the marketplace, and I think that's important because as the marketplace changes, it's important to know where the failure points are in any kind of business model. Where are the people that you've seen throughout the years? Because we've been around the block.
Jesus.
Gotta be a better way to say
Yeah,
that.
right? Come on, old lassie.
Come on, ho.
Where are the
so
people?
money.
Where's Greg?
Where are the people that have gotten to a certain level of success and are still in business and are doing business the right way? What are they doing different that differentiates themselves, again, from the two different ends of the spectrum? From the mom and pop one-off flipper that really wasn't in a business to begin with and then lost their ass, and then also from the higher volume education guru space, where again we've seen a lot of the big gurus out there talk about taking millions of dollars of losses on flips in what is relatively a very good market. And I don't understand.
I have
to
no
be
Or
honest, I
how
don't-
they're paying back their lenders.
Well, they're doing that
That
with-
was that
Well,
one.
they're
and
doing
I
that with
still
firing
don't
everybody
understand
else,
that.
apparently.
But on both ends of the spectrum, I understand and sympathize more with the small person that watched HGTV and thought that they could go
Gotcha.
retire by doing it. But I
bullshit.
don't sympathize with the ones that are teaching flipping, bragging about how many millions of dollars they lost. I don't sympathize with that person at all.
don't.
So who are you seeing that's wildly successful, aside from us? And what are they doing that differentiates themselves in the marketplace from other folks? Because let's have a little bit
I'll
of a
tell
cherry
you,
conversation.
some of the best clients that I have and the most successful that I have that use me, use their own money, use private money, use other lenders. They have a plethora of funding sources. They never deviate from the numbers. They can walk away from a deal if something changes and it's not fitting the numbers they buy at. They're not the 70% of ARV buyers. They're the 60 and below. And they never deviate from that. a lot of times they're not even on social media, or they're barely on social media. You'd have no idea what they do for a living. They also tend to be my clients who, when there's a rocky road, something happens. It doesn't matter what it is. They're calm. They talk like, here's what happened. I'm going to talk to my lender. Let's figure out a solution. But they can recognize it's on me to fix this. They don't have to save me. And I'm probably going to need money or time or something to fix this. And all of it ends up being money in the end. They're usually, they're solution oriented. They're not losing their minds, screaming and pointing fingers and whatever. That's the people that I would say do consistently 1 to 2 deals a month. Those are those individuals. The mom and pops who only come in and do maybe 4, 5, 6 deals a year, and they're doing it supplement retirement, something. Maybe it's just something they've always wanted to do, but they haven't fully left careers. They're the same way. They're sticking to numbers. They're in this because they have to be well like profited off the few deals they're doing. But they're very rigid. We do not buy outside of this. This is what we do. I will walk from a deal. The other people that I would say that are really finding success, especially the volume people, probably no different than y'all. They have enough going on that a loss or something doesn't hit as well, you have something else to accommodate for it. If you're just in buying silly deals to prove to people I'm a big badass and I'm in social media selling and buying all these deals, but you're not keeping track of your capital, you're not keeping track of where your money's coming and going, and that's a big one. Not knowing how much you truly have coming in and out. And that's like the accounting side of it. How much was your holding cost? Not, you got a HUD for $165,000. Did you really profit that 165?
And sometimes,
Because I could show you
Yeah.
one where I did, and I actually accounting lost 40 grand on it.
I would say there's sometimes when
It's so easy to fake it.
there's
right?
sometimes no matter what you made, it's really nice to get that 160 grand back.
Oh, it makes you feel better. I mean, you
regardless of
don't
what the
cry at
number
the
is.
title company, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Because you need the money, because you're on. And so I've always liked that third way personally, because I think that if you have a sound business model, then a higher volume of deals, as long as you have a sound acquisition strategy, as long as you understand the market on the dispo side, then it evens out more of the mess ups. Because obviously we mess up.
Yeah.
We don't mess up big, but we'll mess up and take a 20K loss on a house. But if we have a month where the company is making, whatever, you don't really feel the 20K loss. To be honest, we probably mess up on failed marketing attempts in terms of expenses, way
I
more than we
honestly
do.
don't believe anyone doesn't lose.
No, I don't think so.
Everyone's lost. Some way, somehow. You just have to own it.
But-
And let's be honest, it's not necessarily a terrible thing. Yeah, you need the money to keep going and keep your industry, but now you got a tax write-off. For some of us, that's amazing.
The responsibility aspect of it is something that I saw in the crash, because I was in multifamily, and you were in commercial before the crash. I'm talking about 06, I'm not talking about COVID, I'm not talking about the little blip in 2012 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, but like the actual crash, the people that blew their brains out were the people that thought that they had no control over anything, and that it wasn't their fault that their entire life savings was wiped away in something. And the people that came out of it, I'm not going to say unscathed because it was painful at the time, but the people that came out of it maybe stronger in the end were the ones that took responsibility, regardless of the outside circumstances negatively impacting the business entirely, and said, you know what, this sucks, but a lot of other people sucks for them too. Let's buckle down and let's see what we can do to get ourselves out of this problem,
You can
whatever
grow
the
out
problem
of
is.
anything.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's always an upside to something.
And it's never,
You just have to figure it out.
it's never, excuse me, never running away from your problems and never placing blame. Such a trend in the industry, it was especially a couple of years ago, and a lot of new people were getting in. But, I saw so many posts on Facebook, oh, my contractor screwed me. Oh, this screwed me. Oh, my lender screwed me.
my God,
Oh,
it's always the lender
the wholesaler that sold me
Oh,
the deal.
we take
It's
it
always the
up.
lender.
The wholesaler that sold me the deal screwed me.
They stopped.
Like-
They wouldn't release my funds.
Did you ever think that maybe you just are a really bad operator and you're blaming everyone because you're not taking responsibility
And
for
it's
what's
not
going
to
on?
say that there's not third parties that are at fault at times. But I think that and I had this conversation with Casey Daly one day about it's essentially, we're all human. Humans err.
Mm-hmm.
And to act like we all need to run around and act perfect and finish everything perfectly is just preposterous. You're humans. And sometimes maybe you pulled the wrong comps, or you pulled the right comps, but it was 380 and you were thinking 480. So you think you haven't knocked it out of the park. That happens. But it's how you deal with it. Emotional intelligence. It's just
And there's
how you
always
deal with
and
it.
there's always the unknown, where we try to predict into the future a little bit about what's likely to happen to the market with the inventory that we have based on what we're trying to do. But you can miss, because we've definitely seen more of a segmentation of local markets being more localized again.
Yeah.
With the marketplace changing, where there are some markets that sell very quickly, and there's some markets that don't sell very quickly for a full ARV property. And price always overcomes that. Like if you're cheap enough, you're going to sell something, regardless of where you are.
Yeah.
But we're definitely seeing the sub-market matters again. Knowing what the days on inventory are in the market that you're in is
Your neighborhood.
is hugely important.
The neighborhood immediately. Like, don't go out of the neighborhood if you don't have to, because that neighborhood will tell you.
I mean, even it'll get so, like, you have to know the neighborhood so much, and like there are some that even when you're dialing in, like Tony pulls in Donovan and has like a class discussion, like, listen, this neighborhood, there was a lawsuit and XYZ. Like, unless you're investing and actually doing deep dive due diligence, like, you're gonna miss these things, right? Like, and you're only gonna miss it once, right? Hopefully, right? That's the learning thing across everything, is just don't make the mistake twice.
But you should have a good support team. And for you guys, you have the three of you who are going to not hold back and fight with each other about what you see. You've got the team double checking it. So that's your checks and balances. For like a smaller operator who doesn't have all that, especially a newer investor, use your lender. We're your capital partner. I am protecting my money and yours. So if we're seeing something, and I mean, look at the volume we're looking at, we might have insight to a submarket or a neighborhood that you don't.
Yep.
I mean, there's been times where we've paused lending in certain zip codes or neighborhoods because we knew there was oversaturation and it was going to bite everyone in the ass. Yeah. And people were crazy and offended and went to other lenders, and look what happened. Some of them haven't sold, and it's over a year later. Some of them have been on the chopping block.
For killing their deal.
Oh, because I'm a
right?
dick.
Like, yeah, it's always a lender's
Which I've never
fault.
understood. I am absolutely incentivized because I make money to close
You want
loan,
them to profit.
but I want us all to
man.
do well. Because if I run out of money and I have too many foreclosures, I'm out of business. That's a loss for a lot of people. Now, that investor's probably in the same boat. You've just wiped out a big chunk of the industry. That's not good for anybody. I mean, we all should walk into this as a team sport of, we're going to try and make this work, because the longer we're all in it, we all make money. Whether it's the foundation guy, your make-ready guy, the handyman, the listing agent, the seller's agent, the stager, the designer, us, it's just, we all need to be in this. So people just need to understand that we're here looking at the deals with you, whether it's us or the title company might know something.
I used to tell people that they're paying me the points so I can build their portfolio. Right, like, so
That's good.
I'm part of their
that is
team,
pretty
right?
good.
So
Write that down.
I'm out of sales for a reason. I fucking hated customers, but no, like, everybody always hates the loan officers, and like, they're complaining about points, fees, or whatever, and I'm like, just fucking let the loan officer eat, right? Stop bitching, do multiple deals. But I tell everybody that they need to have a title company, right? You always want a title company on your team, looking at everything. Have a lawyer on your side, just God forbid, in the back pocket, right?
Perks to loyalty. People will help you out. I mean, title companies will even say, like, oh, we've dealt with this seller before, because we've heard that this seller's gonna be tough, or we've had this contract before.
Yeah.
And
What differentiates, I think, a professional in the industry versus someone that's going to play the blame game is the professional understands that an integral part of the business model is everyone needs to get paid. Otherwise, they're not going to be in business very long. We like it when the contractors make money. Now, we like it when they make a fair wage for what they're doing for fair work. We don't want them to get rich off of us on one deal, but we want them to do volume.
Is that why you do tequila shots when you're paying them? Get them a little drunk, make them think they feel good.
They bring the alcohol.
They bring the alcohol.
They bring this They brought this rice wine last time. It was like sake.
Oh, the AC guy.
Yeah, the HVAC guy. He's like, don't drink it, drink it. And I was like, what the fuck, man?
And they do fine.
I would drink it, and then like, oh shit, he drank it. I'm like,
they do fine.
Am I gonna be okay?
Yeah.
Can I go home?
I talked to, for example, the HVAC guy is a good example. He's been with me 5 years, I think. Yeah, 5 years. I don't call a second HVAC guy. I call him. And there'll be oftentimes I call him on Tuesday and I have a new system in on Wednesday if I want it.
Yeah, that's nice.
he's so loyal that I'll text him in a group chat, me, TJ, and him. He'll then text TJ, is this one of yours? And I'm like, motherfucker, like, come on, like, just get it done. I'm just trying to speed things up, right? And like, God damn it, I should have
I'm a
went through
boss
this.
too.
Not even that, but I'm
I'm
like,
the
God
N
damn
of
it, just fucking get it
TNT,
done.
yo.
And don't feel bad for our subs. They do fine. They make a lot of money.
It's the same asshole that brought the rice
The
wine.
rice wine.
Oh, that's so funny.
But,
Yeah.
but the one that you mentioned, the one we do shots with, I've known him since before I moved out to Texas. I've known him 10 years.
Wow.
And I don't use him on everything. We don't use him all the time. But that's important. I don't know many people that can say that. The same thing with JB, who Tony's been working with for 16 years. These aren't.
Wow.
It's not that they're unhappy. They wouldn't be coming back if they were unhappy. But it's not that they're getting screwed and not getting paid what they're worth. But it's also that they're respected and they're getting paid a fair amount for what they're doing.
Well, and I honestly think that some of the, it's really common to see the, contractor took my money and ran off. There's some, it's not to say there's not shit people. There's garbage people whose whole intent was just to steal.
Oh, absolutely.
We've learned that. It's hit the news. We're watching investors and GCs being thrown off to jail in the last 2 years. But I also think some of them, investors also screw over people. They screw over GCs, not paying. They argue the quality's not there, whatever the reason is. At some points, people will stop working with investors if we're like that. Or they'll start to think that they need to, maybe if the opportunity arises, take a little bit of the cash or maybe a little bit of the materials or something. I mean, you kind of create the environment, your surroundings.
That's more what I was getting at from the contractor perspective, because we've done a lot of construction, obviously. And you make a good point. There's always, for a fixed price bid, there's always something that a bad client can complain about the quality of the work. It doesn't matter how good the work is. There's a paint line somewhere, there's a grout line, there's a tile is inherently not square, so the grout over here is thicker than the grout over there. So a bad, and this can go for retail as well, which is why we don't do retail work for homeowners. Well, we never have. But why, for someone that wants to be malicious as a homeowner, an investor, anything on that side, can find something to pick on the contractor about and can make their life hell.
Yep.
Now, it doesn't mean that a lot of investors do that. I think a lot of investors are pretty ethical and try to do it fairly. But it really goes down to the vibe of, okay, what am I trying to accomplish here? Am I trying to make sure everyone is growing? Or am I trying to make sure that, I have a lot of bills to pay. I got a lot of stuff to do. Man, I need to make on my side. And that's not a healthy environment for anyone. It's actually not a bad little segue, I suppose, is like even an office environment. Well, not so much, like even an office environment.
You have one negative. And one, if you have 99 people,
Precisely.
and one is just, you know what I'm talking about. It
Liberal.
will sprout.
Yeah.
It will continue to go.
Liberal. That's why I keep a fucking Trump sign on my office wall, right? You gotta fucking weed them out, because once they get in there, right, they're like gnomes and shit. They just start fucking digging. They're like the Jewish New Yorkers, right? They
Tunnels.
just start tunneling and shit. Like, holy hell.
Hey,
They
that's
infect
not
everything.
I don't know if I can say that.
It happens.
Those tunnels are amazing.
But as we've
Oh, the memes from it. Oh my God.
I know.
put a couple,
I'm
we'll
a
put
little
a couple
surprised it
memes
took
up
this
there.
long.
I have so many NYPD friends from back home that I'm just sending different memes to. It's amazing.
I just love the story of the guy who was hearing Yiddish and he went to see a shrink.
Yeah.
And come to find out the
He
tunnel
wasn't
was
crazy.
near his house.
He's like, I'm not crazy. Could you imagine that, right? Like hearing that at night, just fucking Yiddish coming
That would
through the
be
floor.
A little odd. But I think that even the mom and pop people, the ones that are successful, they understand that they're running a company. And they understand that the people that work for them, the subcontractors, the title companies, the attorneys.
Well, they usually have a specific goal.
Right.
Like, I want to make $500,000 in the next 5 years so that I can retire with whatever millions
How do
I'm
you
going to
live off of
have,
that?
and I need. But you get my point.
Yeah.
And so they have a goal. If I make 40 grand per house, that means I need to do this many houses a year to get to that goal. So they're going to be very hyper-focused, laser-focused. The people who've chosen to be an investor because maybe they couldn't hold down a job, maybe they got fired, because a lot of us, let's be honest, we're crazy people. We probably won't do well if we were being told what to do.
There's a lot of mental instability in the marketplace.
We have ADD, ADHD. We have we just don't take well. Like we're just a personality type.
If I fail at this, I'm
some
going
of
to
those people
OnlyFans.
just buy deals to buy deals. They don't necessarily have a goal. Like I'll hear people say, "I want to have 100 houses before I'm 40 or whatever," and I'm like, "That's badass." I personally would not want that. That sounds like that's a whole other business. Yeah. I want enough that I can do X. Like you have to have, why do you want the 100 houses? Is it because you need to have $100,000 cash flow? Like what is it that you need? And back into it. So I mean, the more laser focus, I mean, our very first Pains and Gains episode was about focus.
Was it?
It's a fun circle back.
It's a circle. It's a circle.
It's such a small world.
People don't realize though that fucking goals are moving targets, right? You should never achieve your goal because your goal should then evolve into something else, right? Oh, I want to make $5,000 a month, and then you fucking hit it, and you're like, well, fucking, this is nothing, right? Yeah. Oh shit, I need to make 10 grand. 10 grand turns into 20 and 20, and it grows, or whatever your goal is, right? I want to put up 200 pounds benching, right? Then you fucking start benching 200 pounds and you're like, well, I can keep on going, right? Like your goal should always evolve. So in that same regard, if your goal is to get 100 houses, right, that is something in your head. That's a sign of wealth or whatever that is. Like once you start going, you might realize, no, I don't want 100 fucking houses because.
But of 100 houses, how many of them cash flow? Because I know whenever I see those big package deals, 40 houses all in the same market, and
they're getting sold together for a reason.
And we will not break them apart. It's because a quarter of them are POSs that don't cash flow, need money, and are just going to rape you, and the other ones are decent. There's a reason. So again, did you need 100 houses because you need a certain cash flow? Well, back into that number. That's a lot more feasible than I need 100 houses. Because cash flow changes.
That also right there, what you just touched on, is totally another reason why we're very unlikely to see another bubble or whatever we just saw back in 2008, because due diligence has changed so much too, right? We are fucking underwriting and looking at every deal 10 times over. Fucking.
I mean, just look at hard money.
Yeah.
I mean, hard money, we don't change a whole lot because, our rates are high. We're not tied to the index or things like, well, most of us aren't. But even hard money from 6 months ago, borrower requirements, underwriting, pricing, all changed. What we were a year ago, all changed. I mean, everything is just so different now.
I used to tell people the 680 is the new 620, right? Or I said that right. Like
the minimum
everything
credit scores becomes 660,
right?
and it's wild to me because I remember when there was a time you just didn't
you
really
needed
care
a fucking
credit.
pulse.
It was
and
a
that was
480, but you had plenty of money in the bank. That was fine. Nowadays, it's not.
No. So
it goes back to protect your credit and capital.
So what changes are you anticipating in the marketplace? Because again, you guys do a huge volume of deals. What changes are you anticipating in the marketplace coming into an election year, a likely pause in...
You think they actually drop rates?
In further interest rates?
I do think they're going to drop rates. I think that there's going... Okay, so commercial...
I think they're dumb enough to do it.
Commercial real estate, and mind you, I've been out of commercial real estate since 2014, so maybe things have changed, but maybe not. But when I was brokering commercial real estate, anytime there was an election year coming and there was an anticipation that a Democrat would be in office, and this isn't about fuck Dems or whatever.
Oh, it's not even Democrat, any election year.
Any election year, but it was any chance that their capital gains were going to change, people would suddenly start disposing of assets, commercial assets, especially if you were at the maximum of your 5-year hold. Because most commercial, they would hold for 5 years, usually because that was their ARM or their prepayment penalty. And then they'd 1031, they'd sell and exchange up 1031 in something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Super common. Dealt with it a lot. I loved it because it meant I had more volume. Because not only are they disposing,
you're selling
they're
and you're
buying
buying
something else. So, and they're buying bigger. So, hell yeah, that's a bigger paycheck.
Now you get 2 commissions instead of 1.
So, I do think that they're going to lower interest rates because, A, we're going into a gnarly repeat of election is what it looks like. So, people are going to do whatever it takes to win. Honestly, I think they'll lower interest rates for the simple fact that America needs it. We need things to come down. People are still complaining about grocery bills. The amount of households that are living in poverty has flourished. I forget what the stat was when I read it. The amount of credit card debt spiked, absolutely spiked up. And the bulk of it, I think they said the average interest rate was like 25.99% interest, which that in alone should be criminal.
On credit cards?
On credit cards.
I think that's what I
So
think that's what I see on mine when I say like interest rates for obviously pay them
Yeah.
off. But I think that's what mine says, like 25.99.
They
right
went
now.
from like 21.99
that's a
to like
lot.
25.99, which, you know, and if the average person is in credit card debt of, I think it was $20,000, which blows my mind. I mean, we will pay it off because that's usually a rehab budget. You're going to get a draw or sell the house, pay it off. But this is the average American, your home buyer. They're not.
They're not doing
went-
rehabs.
They went
They're
on
fucking-
They went
yeah.
on vacation. They're going to the grocery
Yeah.
store. They're paying that lady that broke because the kid was on the trampoline or whatever.
Let's do
you
the
know,
math on
they're
that real
living.
quick. If you're an average American family and your credit card interest rate is now 25%, and your average credit card balance is $20,000, you're paying $5,000 a year in just interest, not
And
even
you're not
paying
paying down
credit
your
card,
principal or anything.
not paying down
your
the principal.
balance.
And the average American salary is somewhere in the 70K range. So now you're
I
paying.
thought it was like 65, I think, was what the news was saying the other day.
It's not bad. So you're paying roughly 7 to 8% of your annual salary in interest on your credit card.
Credit card debt.
That's insane. And
And then you're paying over 30% to live, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's a rental or you're owning, and the cost is continuing to skyrocket.
now you're-
because insurance has spiked.
right.
And property taxes. I mean, my property taxes on my rentals went up 48% on two. One didn't go up too much, but I don't think they've driven in the neighborhood to realize it had been upgraded. I was shocked that they didn't raise it more, but I'm not going to bitch. And then insurance. Insurance, I mean, on one of my policies, it went up $700 a year for no reason other than just claims. But there was a period of time where Texas wasn't writing, they were limited, the insurance providers, on how many new policies they could file and claim, and new ones, because they were, I guess, however they're, and I'm not going to act like I'm an insurance
Yeah.
expert, but whatever their
One of the other
escrow
team
is
members
where
you
they
should
pay
have.
out stuff, that needed to be replenished, and they just couldn't take on more new claim policies, so that if claims were made, they didn't have the funds. That's wild to me. So they need to lower interest rates.
so between-
just for the sake of Americans, like no matter who you are.
Now and election, say they lower interest rates a point and a half. What does that do to the residential real estate market?
It means people are going to start buying again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, inventory has increased and days in market have increased, but people are still buying homes. I personally have been looking at buying a larger house. We could use more space. We have, I mean, there's only 3 of us, but let's be
It doesn't
honest.
matter.
They get your kids annoy you, your husband annoys you, you annoy you.
You only spend so much time in the barn, right? Like,
You just want a little more space. Plus, I'd like a pool.
Yeah.
You know, so I've been looking at higher price point, nicer homes, because now's the time to go and get a great deal and do it while the interest rate's not terrible and I only have to live with it for a few years before I can refinance it. That's fine.
Do you think we see
So
an
I
in-
think people will start to buy again.
Do you think we see an increase in inventory because people now think that they can maybe get something in a lateral move or a higher move, and now they are putting their house back on the market?
I
'Cause
don't. I
We've
think
had
the spike in supply will be landlords who are no longer cash flowing and need to figure out something else with their money.
No, I think that's
and
reasonable,
it's
too.
probably flippers who were forced to hold on to assets that didn't sell for whatever reason, or it's just landlords who are no longer cash flowing, because cash flowing is getting incredibly difficult, especially like in Austin. I bought my first one like 9 years ago, I think, and it cash flows, but I bought it for dirt cheap. But the way the property taxes, I mean, they're just killing me.
That's my favorite. Oh, you did a new construction, or you know, you bought
Yeah.
a new build. Oh, wait for that first year adjustment, right? It fucking put you on your back.
You got 10 grand in property taxes. Boo-hoo. What?
We gotta wrap it up.
So for yourself, you got knocked off of space 1 for sales in your team. So so clearly,
Dick.
you're slowing down.
Thanks for having me back.
No, good thing is outside is we have a networking event starting right now, so maybe
You
we
know
can
what?
get
I
you some
just need a
sales
few
and
more
bump
loans,
those up,
show
right?
a
So,
little more, you know.
What does
Wardrobe change.
What does Q3 and 4 look like for Kelly Smith going into this market that's going to be changing a little bit? Because we're only in first couple weeks of Q1, but what does Q3 and 4 look like for Kelly Smith? And then what?
Are we pretending Q2's not around? Are we like,
No,
are
no.
we going to Italy for summer, guys?
Q2's already set.
We're going?
Q2's already set. And then what are the plans for 2025?
Crack.
Ooh.
More kids, more time with the family, more work, less work. What are we looking at?
So when I talk to anyone in this industry. I'm talking about your TCs, transaction coordinators, your title agents, your insurance people. I'm talking about everyone who touches real estate. The majority of the conversations I'm having is to people saying that they're protecting their peace. No matter how they say it, it boils down to they're protecting their peace. I think we're seeing a lot more people say, I don't need to get to this volume because of the shit that I dealt with, where I can make a little bit less and be here and I'm happy. I'm not working 24/7. I'm able to spend time with my family. I'm able to take a vacation. I'm able to be with my whys, because most of our whys are our kids.
I think the hustle for the sake of hustle. I'm trying to outwork everyone. I've never tried to outwork anyone in my life. I think that's worked its way out of the space a little bit. And people are starting to think, maybe there's a smarter, better, more intelligent way of going about doing things.
I'll hustle. I did it.
And we all obviously work very hard.
But I have a kid now. I have a life.
You're still hustling. I heard you on the phone out there.
Oh,
I don't want to fucking hear that.
It's a different hustle, though.
Yeah,
I got knocked off a peg.
Thanks,
bro.
What does 2025 look like? Obviously, you're back on top. You're number one on the sales scene again.
I'm hoping 2024 is back on top. 2025.
Well, yeah, but you won't know until January next year. This is January this year.
I mean, honestly, I see for this year, I think that we're all going to do better business. I think that we're all going to find success. We're going to have a more normal, whether you take revenue, profit, however you pay yourself. I think we're all going to end up happier this year than we did last year. I think we're gonna implement better practices as an industry in general, so that we all can find success and operate within the same, field of play. Because I think that we had a lot of squirrely things going on, and I've watched a lot of accountability. There's been a lot of dragging through the mud of people who haven't performed like they should on the up and up. So I think we're gonna see 2024 is a year of regrowth, and we're optimistic and positive. 25 is where we're gonna see, depending on what transpires with the elections, depending on what transpires with interest rates, and depending on how many people can get their credit and capital back to where they're comfortable, 2025 is going to be a bigger year for all of us. It's not going to be a 2022, but it's going to be bigger than this rebuild year. But this year, I'm optimistic. I think it's a great year.
No, I think we're ready to have fun. We finished 23 relatively strong. We're enjoying so far the first couple weeks of 24. I think we're cautiously optimistic of it being a decent year as well.
I told you, I worked too hard for how long I've been in this. So now I'm trying to identify where can I work smarter versus harder. And I feel like I'm not the only person who's reflecting like that. I'm going to go deep versus wide, as they say, I think
it's an important way to look at things. I think that's a lot more sensible.
What your husband said.
I think that's a lot
Shut up!
All right. Kelly, thanks so much for coming down to Dallas.
Is that why he mentioned another kid?
Coming up to Dallas, whichever. Thanks for coming up to Dallas all the way from the People's Republic of Austin. I appreciate having you on the podcast. It's been a while since we've sat down on a podcast together.
I know.
How can the folks that listen to this, how can they find you, and how can they use your services, and what do you have to offer?
Real easy. I'm going to finance almost anything that you touch in the residential investment real estate space. Flips, new builds, double closes. That's if you're doing wholesaling and you want to hide your fee from the buyer and seller, transactional funding. We're also going to do your wholesales.
You guys do gator lending?
Absolutely not.
I heard that's a thing nowadays.
We got a thing to go to.
If someone can make me understand how it's secured, whatever. No, we don't. We'll also handle your rentals. We have a 30-year fixed program. We have a 10-year interest only. That's super attractive to individuals in flips that maybe they can't offload at the moment. That interest only helps you cash flow a bit better. And 5-year ARMs, they're actually becoming a bit more popular. Fully understand what you're getting into, but people really banking on 5-year ARMs are the individuals who understand rates are surely going to come down, even if it's 25 basis points. It's coming down, and their hold period was only 5 years or less anyway. So those make sense as well. So we can help you operate with that. My phone number is 512-417-2348. If you Google that, you'll find all of my social media, and I'm here to help you. We lend in Texas, which is where I'm located, obviously, and we also lend in 45 other states, and we are consistently adding to that list, so feel free to reach back. One of my teammates is doing deals in Hawaii, and she's going to networking events, and I'm pissed I didn't think of it first.
Are you guys hiring?
We are.
I can't.
We're
I don't think we
always-
can justify a business trip for
I
us to
had
Hawaii.
one deal I
So-
started analyzing, and I was like, do I need fucking volcano insurance? Is that a thing? Like, I didn't know. And I was like, I'm not doing it.
I'm surely that's covered in acts of God.
I had no idea.
I
I
hope
didn't
so.
fucking trust it. I backed out of it. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm staying in Texas.
All right,
Fuck
guys.
that.
Thanks for watching the Institute of Higher Earning podcast. My guest, Kelly Smith, been in the industry a little while. Fantastic lender that I've worked with personally quite a bit. Super excited to have had her on the podcast. My co-host, Nick Sicilian, he's here for comic relief and just being himself. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to be an overachiever, hit that notification button so you can see when we put new podcasts out. Podcasts are getting published on all those fancy podcast publishing platforms. That's alliteration for you English majors. I was actually a history and business major, so I don't know much about that, but that's important to know. It's not what you know, it's what you do with it. But sometimes it's nice to know shit. I'll see you later.
And who you know.